She caught my sleeve before I could speak. Just 2 fingers, a light touch, and somehow that was enough to silence everything else around us. The street was empty, except for the hum of a distant TV and the soft rustle of leaves brushing against the lamppost. Her perfume lingered, something faint and clean, like rain on skin. I hadn't meant to walk her home. Her brother asked me, said she didn't like walking alone after dark. It sounded simple enough, a favor, not a moment. But standing beside her, I realized favors don't make your chest tighten or your throat go dry. Her name was Elise. She said it casually, like it didn't matter if I remembered. But I did. She walked slower than I expected, heels tapping against the pavement in a rhythm that felt deliberate, like she was thinking between each step. Every so often, she glanced at me with that small, unreadable smile older people have when they know more than they're willing to say. I couldn't tell if she was amused or sad. Maybe both. "You don't have to come all the way," she said finally. "It's fine," I replied. "I don't mind." "You should." Her eyes flicked toward me, a look that should have ended the conversation. But it didn't. The silence after stretched long enough for me to notice the sound of our shoes again. Hers, steady. Mine a little uneven. She stopped when we reached the narrow part of the street, where the road bent and the lamplight faded out. A soft wind came through, lifting her hair off her shoulders. She caught it with her hand, then let it fall again. "This is far enough," she said quietly. But she didn't move. She looked past me, toward nothing in particular. The light caught the edge of her cheekbone, the corner of her mouth, and for a second I thought she might be about to say something honest, something small and real. Instead, she asked, "How old are you?" 26. Her lips curved, not into a smile, exactly, but something near it. "You say that like you're sure." "I am." She nodded, slow, and her eyes softened, or maybe I just wanted them to. The distance between us wasn't much, but it felt like a decision. She didn't step closer, and I didn't move away. Her hand brushed mine again, not by accident this time. The touch stayed. Not a full hold, just her fingers resting lightly against my wrist, like she was testing the idea of it. "I used to walk this way every night," she murmured. "Different company." I wanted to ask who. I didn't. The air felt heavier now, or maybe it was just the pause between us. Her thumb traced a slow line over my skin, small enough that it could have been nothing. I could hear my pulse in my ears. "You should probably head back," she said, though her hand didn't move. "Do you want me to?" That question hung there, sharper than I meant it to be. She looked at me then, really looked, and I realized there were whole stories in that gaze, things she wasn't ready to say out loud. Her fingers slipped away, and she took a step back. The sound of a door unlocking broke the stillness. She turned toward it, paused, and said without looking at me, "Maybe next time, I'll walk slower." Then the door opened, spilling warm light across the cold pavement, and she was gone. It had been 3 days since that walk. 3 days since her fingers brushed mine, and I still caught myself replaying it. The exact pressure, the weight of something almost said. I saw her again on Sunday morning. She was outside her brother's house, watering a row of tired potted plants that didn't look like they'd survived the summer. Her hair was tied up this time, a few strands falling loose against her neck. She looked up when I called out a quiet morning, and for a second, I thought she might ignore me. Instead, she smiled, faint, careful. "You're up early." "I don't sleep much," I said. "Noise from the street." "Noise?" she repeated, as if she didn't believe that was the real reason. She turned off the hose, but didn't step away. The air between us filled with the smell of wet soil and the faint scent of her lotion, almond. Maybe. We stood there, pretending not to notice how close we were. Her eyes flicked toward me. "You didn't have to walk me home that night." "I know." "Then why did you?" I opened my mouth, then stopped. "Because I wanted to. Because you looked like you needed someone to. Because you asked," and it sounded like more than a question. But I only said, "It was dark." That earned me the kind of look older people give when they see through you. She leaned against the porch railing, arms crossed, head tilted. "You're kind." But you don't owe me that. She said it like she'd been owed before. Something in her tone, that flat calm that hides exhaustion, told me more than she meant to. I wondered what kind of man she used to walk home with, and if he ever made her laugh, or if she only pretended he did. You used to live here before? I asked. She nodded slowly. Moved back after the divorce. The word hung there. I didn't know if she wanted sympathy or silence, so I gave her both. Just stood there, letting her talk if she wanted to. He kept the house. I kept whatever this is. She gestured toward the garden. I guess you could call it rebuilding. She laughed softly, but it wasn't a happy sound. Before I could say anything, a drop of water from the hose landed on my arm. She reached out, almost on instinct, to brush it away. Her fingertips paused there, just a second longer than necessary. Neither of us moved. The world felt too still. Even the birds seemed to stop mid-note. Her hand fell back, and she exhaled. You're too young to look at me like that. I didn't know I'd been looking at her at all. Like what? I asked quietly. Like you see something worth staying for. Her voice broke at the end of the sentence. Barely, but enough. I didn't answer. Couldn't. The space between us was full of everything we weren't saying, years, expectations, a difference that shouldn't matter but somehow did. When she turned to go inside, I caught her wrist gently. Just once. No words. She didn't pull away right away. Just stood there, her pulse quick under my fingers, eyes fixed on the ground. Next time, she murmured, you should let me walk you home. And then she slipped free, leaving only the scent of almonds and the sound of my own heartbeat, too loud in the quiet morning. The next time I saw her, it was raining. A quiet, steady kind of rain that made everything smell like wet asphalt and old leaves. I was heading back from the corner store when I spotted her on the porch again, watching the street through a curtain of drizzle. She waved me over before I could think twice. Come in before you catch a cold, she said, her voice half hidden behind the sound of the rain. Inside, the house was dim, the kind of quiet that felt earned. No TV, no music, just the soft tick of a wall clock and the sound of water dripping from my jacket onto the floor. She handed me a towel and I took it, our fingers brushing. Just a brief touch, but enough to make me forget the next breath. You shouldn't walk in weather like this, she said. You shouldn't stand outside in it. That made her laugh. A low, surprised sound. She shook her head and turned away, but I saw the way her shoulders eased, how her guard slipped just enough for a moment. She moved toward the kitchen. Tea. Sure. I watched her as she filled the kettle. The small movements, the way her hair stuck to the back of her neck, how she hummed under her breath without realizing it. Something ordinary, and yet every detail felt like it belonged only to that moment. When she handed me the cup, our fingers met again. Neither of us pulled back right away. Your hands are cold, she said softly. Yours aren't. Her gaze flicked up. The air between us shifted. That tiny distance that usually saved us, gone. I could feel her breath, faint and warm. The sound of rain pressed against the windows, steady and heavy, like the world outside was waiting for something to happen. Then a knock at the door. She stepped back fast, the cup almost slipping from her hand. Her breath caught. Don't, she whispered, as if I might say something I shouldn't. I stood still, heart racing in my throat, while she went to answer. It was her brother. His voice filled the doorway, casual, unsuspecting. Hey, Elise. Just checking if you've got that ladder I lent you last week. She smiled, a perfect practice thing. It's in the shed. I'll bring it by tomorrow. I stayed in the kitchen, half hidden by the doorframe. My pulse didn't slow until I heard the sound of his footsteps fading. When she turned back to me, she didn't speak. She just leaned against the counter, breathing hard. One hand pressed to her chest like she was holding something in place. That was close, I said quietly. She nodded. Too close. But neither of us moved away. Her eyes found mine again, searching, tired, wanting. The kind of look that asks a question without words. I took a step forward. She didn't stop me. Our hands met again. Fingertips this time, light, cautious, but shaking. I could feel her hesitate, could see the thought flicker across her face. We shouldn't, but she didn't let go. The rain grew louder, covering the silence between us. When I finally spoke, my voice barely reached her. We keep stopping halfway. She looked up, her expression unreadable. Maybe that's the only way we survive this. Still, neither of us moved apart. It happened on a Thursday evening. The kind that feels like it shouldn't matter, quiet, ordinary, the sun bleeding out behind the rooftops. I hadn't planned on seeing her. But her light was on, and her front door was half open, and that was enough to pull me in. She was sitting on the floor by the window, sleeves rolled up, sorting through old photographs. A small pile sat beside her. Faces, moments, lives I didn't recognize. She looked up when I stepped inside. You shouldn't just walk in. You left the door open. That doesn't mean you're invited. Still, she didn't tell me to leave. I sat down across from her, the light between us soft and fading. She held up a photo, her younger self, maybe 20 years ago, smiling beside a man whose face was partly torn away. He didn't like pictures, she said, almost to herself. Funny, right? Someone who hated being seen. I didn't know what to say, so I stayed quiet. She sighed, setting the photo aside. It's strange. You remind me of him sometimes. Not the looks, just the way you... She stopped there. The way I what? She shook her head. Never mind. Her hand trembled slightly as she reached for another photo, and before I could think, I covered it with mine. Her fingers froze beneath my touch. Elise, I said softly. That was enough to make her look at me. Not the careful, guarded look she usually gave, but something raw. Her eyes were bright in the dim light. Her mouth parted like she might say something but couldn't find the words. You don't know what you're doing, she whispered. I think I do. Then stop. She said it, but her hand didn't move. The air around us seemed to thicken, the world outside shrinking until there was only the space between our hands. Tell me to go, I said. She didn't. Instead, she leaned closer, slow enough that I could feel the warmth of her breath before I could smell it. Faintly sweet, like tea and rain. My pulse stuttered. Her voice was barely there. You make me feel stupid. How? For wanting this. I brushed a loose strand of hair from her face, my hand lingering at her jaw. Then we're both stupid. She laughed once, short, helpless. Then she leaned forward, until her forehead almost touched mine. I could feel the tremor in her breath, the way her hands pressed against the floor like she needed the ground to stay steady. Someone will see, she whispered. Then closed the door. The words came out before I could stop them. Rough, low, dangerous. For a long moment, neither of us moved. The clock ticked. The room felt alive. Then the sharp buzz of her phone on the table. We both froze. She turned away fast, her breath catching. The screen lit up with a name I didn't recognize. She didn't answer, just stared at it, chest rising and falling too quickly. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely audible. You should go before I stop caring who calls. I didn't move, not for a heartbeat, not for two. And then, finally, I stood. At the door, she looked up again, eyes full of everything she wouldn't say. If you come back, she said quietly, don't knock. The next day, I tried not to think about her. I failed by morning. By evening, I found myself outside her house again. Not knocking, not leaving, just standing there like someone waiting for an answer they never asked. The curtains were half closed. Through the slit of light, I could see her silhouette moving slowly across the room. Before I could turn away, her brother's voice came from behind me. You looking for Elise? I froze. He was carrying a box of tools, smiling, casual. She mentioned you've been helping her out, he said. Nice of you. After everything. I forced a laugh. After what? His expression shifted. Pause, too long to be innocent. You didn't know? He hesitated, then sighed. Her husband. The guy who left her. He didn't just leave. He lives 2 streets over. Moved in with someone new. She sees him sometimes. Pretends not to. My stomach tightened. She's been... not herself, he added. I think you remind her of before. Be gentle with her. Okay? He clapped me on the shoulder and walked off, leaving me in the rain starting to fall again. When I looked back at her window, she was gone. I didn't mean to knock, but I did. She opened the door fast, like she'd been waiting for it. You shouldn't be here. Then why'd you leave the light on? That stopped her. Her mouth opened, closed again. You spoke to my brother, she said finally. I didn't deny it. Something flickered in her face. Not anger, something sharper, almost like fear. She stepped back, crossing her arms. He shouldn't have said anything. He said your husband still lives nearby. She flinched, the kind of movement too quick to hide. Ex-husband. And you see him? Her silence said enough. I took a step closer, close enough to see the tension at the corner of her mouth, the tremor in her hand where she held the doorframe. Does he know I've been here? I asked. No one knows you've been here. Her voice shook. Just a little. She wasn't looking at me anymore. Then why does it sound like a secret you're tired of keeping? That made her look up. Her eyes flashed. Something raw, unguarded. Because it is a secret. And I don't even know why I keep it. She took a step forward now, the distance collapsing fast. I could feel the heat of her body, the storm of it pressing just close enough to burn. You shouldn't be here, she repeated. But her voice was different now, rough, uncertain. Say it again, I said quietly. She did, softer this time. Our eyes locked. Neither of us moved away. Her breath hitched. If he sees you, I don't care. You should. Do you? That broke her. She closed the space between us in one step, chest against mine, voice low near my ear. You don't understand what this will ruin. Her fingers gripped my shirt, trembling. Then ruin it, I whispered. The sound of thunder rolled somewhere outside. Her hand slid away, slow, uncertain, but she didn't step back. When she finally spoke, her voice was just a breath. Tomorrow. If you still mean that tomorrow, come back. She opened the door before I could knock. It was late, too late for anything casual. The street was quiet, heavy with that midnight stillness that makes every sound feel louder than it is. She stood there in a soft gray sweater, hair unpinned, no makeup this time. The sight of her like that, undone, unguarded, felt like something private I wasn't supposed to see. I didn't think you'd come, she said. I said I would. Her eyes searched mine, as if trying to find doubt and failing. She stepped aside. Then come in. I did. The room smelled like rain again. She always left a window cracked open. A record played faintly in the background, something old and low and steady. Neither of us spoke for a while. She poured a drink, set it down untouched, and leaned against the counter. You shouldn't have come, she said finally. You told me to. I told you if you still meant it. I do. She closed her eyes, breathing out slowly. You don't know what that means for me. Then tell me. She shook her head. It means I don't get to pretend anymore. About him. About you. About being fine. I stepped closer. Not enough to touch, just enough for her to feel it. The air between us changed again. Heavier now, but not reckless. I could see the faint tremor in her jaw, the way her fingers gripped the edge of the counter to steady themselves. You don't have to pretend, I said. She looked up, eyes bright, tired, alive. You make it sound easy. It's not, I admitted. Something in that answer broke the last wall between us. She reached up slowly, fingers tracing the side of my face like she was memorizing it. Her hand lingered at my neck, her thumb against my pulse. Every time you look at me, she whispered, I forget how old I am. I caught her wrist gently. That's not what I see. What do you see? You. Just you. Her laugh came out soft, shaky. God. You're too young to say things like that and mean them. Maybe, I said, but I still mean them. Her forehead rested against mine, and for a long, suspended moment, we didn't breathe. The world outside was gone. No rain, no clock, just skin and air and hesitation. Her voice trembled. If we start this, I can't go back. I don't want to go back. The words came out quieter than I meant, but true. Her hand slid to the back of my neck. My own found hers. For a heartbeat, we stopped being careful. Then she kissed me. Not soft, not hesitant, but like something breaking open. And just as quickly, she pulled away. I needed to know, she said, voice unsteady. Now you do. She looked at me for a long time, that same unreadable look from the first night, only now it meant something else. Acceptance, maybe, or relief. Whatever happens next, she said. We don't lie to ourselves anymore. I nodded. Deal. Outside, the rain started again. Inside, we finally stopped pretending. Morning came quiet, the kind of quiet that feels earned, like the world finally exhaled. I found her on the porch, wrapped in a blanket, hair still damp from the shower. The sun was just beginning to rise, washing everything in pale gold. She looked smaller somehow, softer but not fragile. She didn't turn when I stepped outside. Just said, "You stayed." I wasn't going to leave without saying goodbye. She glanced over her shoulder, eyes steady. Goodbye. I sat beside her, the wood still cold beneath us. Unless you don't want me to. For a moment she didn't answer. Then she reached out and took my hand. Slow, deliberate. Her thumb brushed over my knuckles, tracing small, thoughtless circles. I used to think I didn't deserve to start over, she said. That I'd used up all the chances life gives you. And now, she smiled, a real one this time, faint but real. Now I think maybe I was wrong. We sat there like that, not needing more words. The air smelled like wet grass, coffee brewing somewhere next door, the faint hum of morning life returning. I could feel her warmth beside me, the calm weight of her shoulder just touching mine. She turned to look at me fully then, eyes searching in that quiet, steady way she had. Do you regret any of it? I shook my head. No, even though it's complicated, especially because it is. That made her laugh softly. The same low, unsure laugh from before, only this time it didn't sound like she was holding anything back. For a while, we just watched the street wake up, cars passing, someone walking their dog, a breeze catching the edge of her blanket. She leaned into me a little, almost unconsciously, and I let my arm rest around her shoulders. It wasn't dramatic or rushed or perfect. It just was. She looked up after a long silence. You know people will talk. They already do, I said. Let them. Her head found its place against my chest, like it had always been meant to fit there. You really don't care, do you? Not anymore. Good, she whispered. Because I'm done pretending to. The world felt simple in that moment. Not because the problems were gone, but because for once they didn't feel bigger than us. I turned slightly, brushing a strand of hair from her face. She caught my hand before I could pull back and pressed a kiss against my palm. Light, certain, final. Stay, she said. I was planning to. Her hand tightened around mine. The morning light climbed higher, catching the quiet in her smile, the steadiness in her breath. We didn't need to say what came next. We already knew. The past was still there, the age gap still there, the risk still real, but so was this. And for the first time, it was enough. Did you enjoy the story? What kind of stories would you like to hear next?